All right, and this is something that I do want to do more of as well. Is I do want to look at some threads on Spectrum and stuff like that on stream. Thank you, time and space. And this one is titled "How Far Will CIG Go to Force Players to Play Multi-Person Ships in a Unreasonable Way?" Um, well, I think he's implying that they're doing it in an unreasonable way, and I'm not so sure that that's true. I mean, let's look and see what he says. But I thought that this was at least an interesting title, and it was towards the top of general, so there must have been some discussion on it. He said, especially for vessels like the Mole, Rock DS, and other ships, similar to their weird design logic. It's just so weird that these vessels are forcing players to play multi-person ships by simply dividing the function of a single-player ship that has a similar role and making it bigger. I've kind of been behind this idea of it being kind of silly. Like the Mole isn't as effective as three prospectors, right? And it's certainly not as effective as four prospectors because it can carry more, can cover more ground. And if you technically think that a Mole would have a pilot and for uh, laser engineers or whatever, miners in the mining lasers, then it's true. I mean, what's special about the Mole is it's cool looking. That's what makes it special for me. But roadmap, not roadmap, monthly report, we saw that they wanted to make changes to the Mole and changes to multi-crew ships because they know that there's problems with it and they're trying to make it better. Whatever that means, we don't know the answer to yet, but that's where we are. For instance, the Mole takes away the pilot's mining control to another player and makes it a bigger prospector. Rock DS is similar, taking away the mining control of the rock and allocating it to another player. Meanwhile, making the storage bigger. Not only bigger, but like kind of unreasonably bigger. And disabling the cargo box of the rock by making it unremovable. This was not really a thing that was done on purpose to force multi-crew. This was a thing that was, I think, to break an exploit that me and Cutlet had found, to be perfectly honest. What's more, both the Mole and the Rock DS miner was exposed in the air unprotected while the pilot was safely sitting in their seat with full protection. I knew the Rock DS is a practice for the new dev team, and the Mole is quite an early design. But CIG, please, no more ship design language like this. Yes, I mean it to all future ships. I'm having a small hope for a rework for the Mole and the Rock DS, which I don't know if the ships are getting necessarily a rework, but the design of the gameplay seems to. And the Mole can reallocate players to a pilot with one mining laser beacon in control and two drone operators that can help detect more valuable mines or ore and label them up with a drone. Okay, so now he's just like going into like, here, let me design the game for you, which is never good feedback. Um, but yeah, I'm not necessarily in disagreement here, right? Is the idea of just make it bigger usually isn't the answer. So like they really have to look at, well, how do we balance this in a way that it's either equal to or more advantageous to fly in a multi-crew ship? Well, they're already at an advantage of it's more fun to fly in a multi-crew ship. It may not necessarily be the like more min-max effective to fly a Mole over a prospector, but having all one crew in one ship is actually pretty cool. And so that like gives it a bonus right off the bat, right? But yes, fun fun doesn't mean anything to people like me. It like again, I'm one of those people where like the min-max elements of games is maybe the thing that I enjoy the most, right? So it may not be considered fun, but it is enjoyable to spend time on the same ship together. It just is. So what should change? Why like it's way simpler than just make it bigger. Like the Mole lasers are the same lasers essentially that are on the Prospector. That's like the easy win there, right? Change the way the lasers work. Done. The other thing would be cargo. Is more just better? Well, maybe not necessarily. What makes the larger cargo ships better or worse? Where's the balance there necessarily? Since we know at some point there'll be cargo missions, and maybe taking this much cargo is more valuable in that specific mission than taking this much cargo, right? I think we know that the idea of personal transport is going to be a thing, and why would be taking maybe your Spirit E1 be more effective for a certain situation than another, right? So there's a lot of thinking and a lot of design that they need to do, and I think, like you said in this post, it is definitely just an early design for a ship. It the I think, like, the idea there was correct. And again, I've spoken about this a million times. You don't necessarily need to change the ship to make it more effective. The larger cargo hold on the Rock DS and the Mole actually are effective if the game supported situations where you did need a larger cargo hold. So I think the Rock DS was like, it's still unreasonably large. Like, I don't think it lines up with the size of the vehicle, but because it's like 3x the size of what can be held in the Rock's cargo hold, I believe. And I don't think the cargo area is 3 times the size. So, yeah, but I don't know. I think that there's a lot of things that you could do to make multi-crew enjoyable. Survivability can certainly be one. Defense, a bit, like being able to, being more defensive, defendable, with turrets and things like that. We assume that when ships are going and flying a little bit slower, that the ships that have turrets on them are going to be more effective in defense of themselves in the next patch. We'll see. Well, I guess I can't say the next patch anymore. I guess in 3.18, but yeah, I think that there's options that make multi-crew cool, but I don't think they've implemented any of them yet in defense of the original poster here. So yeah, I don't know. What do you guys think personally about the like multi-crew in the game? I think they're really starting to put an onus on it with the idea of like the engineer role and creating roles for your players that are on your ship where they have certain access to certain things, right? So I think that they're like actually trying to start doing it, but still curious what you guys think on that.